welcome everyone. So we're doing a presentation of our program today, especially because we got the incredible good news that we were awarded Erasmus Mundus European funding for the next 4 cohorts of the program. So starting with 2023, we are going to be able to offer scholarships again and work with the program within the Erasmus Mundus framework. So we thought, okay, let's welcome everybody to apply to the program, and let's tell you a little bit about the program. Okay, so here on this slide and on the screen as well, you see some of us, and here you also see what this presentation is about. We're going to introduce you a little bit, what is this program all about. We're going to show you how the curriculum looks like and how the 3 mobility paths in the programs look like. So you start here, you move there, and what happens next. Then we're going to talk about the admission criteria, which of course all of this information is also online. And we're going to explain also about the scholarships and the funding and all the student supports that we also have put in place. So right now, what I'd like to do is just go around the screen and say hello just to the team. So some people are not here physically on the screen, but they are very much there in the background, and they might join us a little bit later. So I'll start with myself. I'm Anca Minescu. I teach on the program, but I also coordinate the program, and I'm very much helped in this coordination at the European level. I'll explain in a little while by Radek. So Radek, do you want to say hello?
I do want to say hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Radek Stanczewski, and I work with Anka on the administration of the program. Some of you might have been in contact with me. Welcome to the webinar, and I hope we can answer all your questions today.
Thank you, Radek. And then I'll pass on to Sarah. Sarah J. She is my colleague here at the University of Limerick. You want to say hello, Sarah?
Yeah, I do. Hi, everybody. Hello, you're very welcome. I'm the course director, so the local coordinator in Limerick in UL, and I also teach the Migration, Inclusion and Health, which is a core module on Path C when students come to UL. So I'll be course director and a lecturer.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to meeting some of you.
Very close. You are very close to everyone. And then before people come to Limerick, they typically go to Portugal. Never mind Warsaw. So from Portugal today, we also have Ricardo. Ricardo, do you want to say hello?
Yeah, hello everyone. This sounds a little bit like the Eurovision for some reason. I don't know. Should I give points or something like that? So hello everyone. It's really nice to be here and to see you. So I'm Ricardo Rodrigues. I'm, as Anka said, I'm at Lisbon, ISCTE more specifically, and I will be, well, if you decide to join the program, you're accepted. I will be your teacher for one course for sure, that is Stereotypes, Prejudice and Discrimination. And I also teach an elective that is Diversity at School.
Thank you, Ricardo. And I know that you're also very much working very close on this program with Melanie Fauclair, who used to be the program coordinator in the first round back in 2017 when we first started this journey. So say hello to Melanie when you see her.
I will.
Because working on this program is hard as it is. And then we also have Karolina Mazurowska, who is in Warsaw in SWPS University there, where Radek is also. So hello to Karolina as well. But also very importantly, let's go to Oslo. How many points? Norway. Thomas.
How long will you make that joke now, Anka? So I'm Thomas. I'm the local academic coordinator in Oslo. I'm originally German, but I also was in Portugal at some point, and now I have been teaching in Oslo for 10 years. Yes, so I teach bachelor and master there, and in Global Minds, I've focused the teaching on interventions and topics like justice, social mobility, etc.
Yes, and Thomas is very much a linchpin of this whole program because also because of Thomas, I, for example, got involved, and I am Romanian, but I used to go to Germany when I studied in the Netherlands. How about Eurovision now? So we are actually a very international team of people. And talking about international, I'm really delighted, and I want to publicly also thank Diana, Didi, Lizarazo. She is one of our Global Minds alumni, and she's always helping us. And right now, she's also working for the program for the Global Minds and for organizing this webinar. And Diana, do you want to say where you are and where you're from, and just hello?
So, of course, hello everyone, really happy to be here. My name is Diana, and as Anka mentioned, normally everybody calls me Didi, so you can call me Didi. I am currently the chair or president of the Global Minds Association, so very probably if any of you want to continue or be involved with the Global Minds somehow, somewhere, this is a place to start to be. So yes, what else? I am from the cohort 2019-2021, and currently I am in Norway, living in Norway. Did I already mention that I am from Colombia? Okay.
No, but I was about to mention, but that's nice. But and Didi also was here in Limerick with us, and she's the true world global person right now, right, Didi? Also because you work a lot with the Erasmus Mundus associations and with the Erasmus Mundus alumni, which are another dimension beyond this program. And I'd also like to say hello to Leticia. Leticia is here helping us. She's a PhD student from Brazil, and Leticia is also taking care of all the technical elements today. So thank you, Leticia. If you want to say hello.
Yeah, just briefly, hello guys. If whenever you need anything, I'm here to help as well. So yeah, thanks very much.
Okay, so as you can see, we are quite an international team, and I think this is exactly what it takes to teach on an international program. And the reason I was telling you that I was going to show you a little bit of this European and local thing was because this is a joint master's program. So the jointness of this master's means that we deliver it, we coordinate it at two levels. One is the European level, the Erasmus level across 4 countries, 4 universities here. And this is where myself and Radek are working a lot across the whole program. And then in each country, Ireland, Norway, Poland, and Portugal, we have the local level coordination teams. And also we have administrators who are not even here on the list. But so the program is quite complex. It's meant to be complex because it's offered between 4 different universities. However, your home here with a nice little green ribbon is Ireland. So the program is home, this host, it lives in the University of Limerick. So when you apply to the University of Limerick. When you graduate from the University of Limerick. However, because when you study, you go to at least 2 other universities, your final diploma is a joint diploma. So it's one piece of paper with 2 stamps at the minimum. Always you will have the stamp of the University of Limerick because we are the mama, the home, the little house for the program, and the stamp of the university where you have studied depending on your pathways, on your mobility path. So I think this is quite important to know and to understand that when you're applying to this program, and especially when you enroll in the program, there is a lot of experiential learning, okay? Because you're all the time moving at some sort of European level or within Europe, but at the same time, you're functioning locally in the university where you're studying, where you have to live, and then where you also have to move from, right? So this experiential learning about migration, about different systems is a core element of the program. And our attempt to help you, support you, and run the program is accordingly going into both of these levels and directions. You know, on the one hand, having the overview at the European level across all the program, all the students, all the locations, and on the other hand, at the local levels. So while this is a complex program, we also are very well organized and connected and try to facilitate the supports from all of these levels, okay? And as Diana already mentioned, she is the chair of the Global Minds Alumni Alumni Association, and we are very closely working with the alumni as well. We already have three cohorts that have graduated in the first round of the program. At the moment, we also have 2 cohorts of students who are paying for their own studies, like self-funded students, because we were waiting for the new Erasmus Mundus with the scholarships, which we are now entering. So you will be part of the 2023 cohorts, and then we can run this program for 4 cohorts from now on. And what is this program about? I think this is very important, because basically when we are accepting students into the program, we are inviting you to work with us to achieve these objectives. Okay, so the number one objective is that we will deliver together with you an excellent European master's program. So you're coming here to learn at master level about the psychology of cultural, social, and health issues related to migration, inclusion, and diversity. Okay, so these are grand challenges that we are trying to solve from a psychological point of view. So having a psychology background at the entrance in this program is absolutely essential. It's one of the entry criteria, because we want to take you to the next level, right? So that's why we require as a key eligibility criteria into the program that students have a degree in psychology, or at least a certain amount of credits in psychology, so that in this master's you come to this other level where you can learn to apply new cultural, social, and health psychological models to the solution of major problems in society. The second aim that we're working towards is that we want to prepare you, the new graduates, the new professionals, the new generations, with a high level of intercultural competencies and intercultural mindsets. And what we have seen in the past is that people who wanted to come and study with us were already quite interested in this. They were already very open-minded, very internationally oriented, and so on. However, the experiential element of the program really brings that to a new level as well, right? Because you're experiencing it, but you're also learning about it, you're understanding, you're reflecting throughout 2 years of this program. And the need for these intercultural competencies is much higher now, more than ever, because we are now working in this environment where we're trying to get a more sustainable planet, but where we are also still recovering from a major pandemic, right? So being able to talk across countries, across cultures, across barriers, across differences is very, very important for our societies. And then the last 2 objectives, I won't insist too much about it, is that we are very much promoting and practicing what we preach, a model of knowledge co-creation and knowledge collaboration. So knowledge is not, for a textbook, it's not for the library, it's not for a lecture slide. Knowledge is generated together. So between our 4 universities, we're working very closely about what we teach, what we read, what we research, how we research. We are really engaged in this critical reflection about knowledge. But also we have other associate partners into the program. So we're constantly looking to expand and to work closely with other people in academia, in universities, and outside of academia who are working with migration, inclusion, and diversity. And this is where your element of having to do an internship, a 300 hours or 3 months internship as part of your program comes in. So we at the program level are working to develop this network of organizations working in the field that need you and your skills, and that you also need to develop those skills, at least during your internship, right? So we are very much dedicated to these principles of collaboration, okay? So I think this is important, because you should know what our dream is, because by coming into the program, you're joining that dream. Yeah, you're joining that culture of learning from each other, learning by moving, learning by doing, trying to solve real problems in the real world with your research skills and your research knowledge that we pass on to you. I just wanted to put this up here because our webpage and our social media, the Didi created this QR code to access all of those, but the social media links are also on the website, is our best point of contact with everyone. So please do try to engage with the social media and with the website to find out the answers to many of your questions. Then Radek and Didi are very active in also keeping the frequently asked questions rubric there as well, you know, because of course, if you have a question, it's very likely another person has exactly the same question. So we're trying to provide you with as much information as we possibly can. Now, the program, okay, just in case you don't know where you are anymore, you are still in the Global Minds program, the Erasmus Mundus program on global mobility, inclusion, and diversity in society. This is a 2-year program. It's entirely delivered in English, no matter whether you are in Portugal, Poland, Norway, or Ireland. All courses are in English, all supervision and research work is in English. And across the whole program, we focus on contemporary societal issues. So you learn psychology by applying it to specific problems, yeah, and the main ones being these ones: diversity and inclusion, mobility, migration, and acculturation and health. So inclusion, you know, what happens to the migrants once they are there. I think what is very specific about this program is not only that it's delivered internationally, so between 4 universities and with this input from 4 mindsets, from 4 departments of psychology that are on their own, established and very active in the field, but that it's also giving you first-hand experiences. So one of the first-hand experiences enhanced by the fact that you are obliged to teach, to learn at least at 2 different universities. The other one is that you will have to do an internship. So that gives you, again, a different kind of exposure. Yeah, you have to figure out how to survive in an organization, one that is different than the universities of the program. And very interestingly, especially with the Erasmus Mundus funding, we always have an amazing diversity among the peers. So your own cohort, your own students, the other students are a huge source of learning and a unique opportunity to really understand and apply what you're learning. So basically the structure is that we have 2 years. In the first year, you study at 2 universities in 2 different countries, and it is mandatory to move those 2 times, right? So if you're Irish, if you're Irish and you want to study in the Global Minds, I would suggest that you go to Poland and then to Norway on path B, so that you make sure that you have at least studied in 2 different countries, okay? Then we conclude year 1 with a 2-week summer school, and in this summer school is quite interesting because the students and the staff from all different universities and paths come together, and we organize the summer school here in the Mama University in Limerick, so that, you know, we reinforce this idea. And then in year 2, you will do the internship and the master thesis. Okay, so this is basically what, so year 1 is a lot of studying, including a summer school, and year 2 is about your work experience and applying and developing your research skills through your master thesis. These are the paths. So there are 3 paths: path A, culture and diversity, Lisbon and Limerick; path B, starting in Poland in SWPS and then going to Oslo; and path C, starting in Poland and then coming to Limerick. Okay, so these are the 3 pathways. And when you apply, we already asked you, choose a path. Tell us why you would like to study in this program on a particular path. Yeah, because those are the kind of things that really help us, okay, to decide between the match, to decide on the match between you and the program, right? So some people say, look, I'm really interested in working with migrants when it comes to their health, you know, because, you know, we know that migrants, you know, have to be healthy to migrate in the first place, or the ones who survive, who make it in the host country, typically tend to be healthy, but after a while in that country, they tend to be sicker than the local population, or they might suffer, especially if they are displaced because of war or because of natural disasters, by trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder, and so on. And if that is your core interest, then it's path C, that is the path for you. That's where you're going to learn what to do and how to understand these problems, right? And if you are in doubt about it, please reach out and talk to us. But I think one way of really understanding this path is by looking at the kind of stuff that you're going to study. But it's also about what you want to do in the future, right? So think about what you want to do in the future with the masters that give you psychological research skills in this field, right? So if you want to go and study some more, then it doesn't really matter, because you can study anything, because you'll keep studying. You still want to do a PhD, you still want to go in that direction, and you might not be very clear about which aspect of the program you're interested in. But if you want to work in the field with particular social problems, then you might want to look a little bit closer to the type of experience that you get into the different pathways, right? So at this stage, I don't know if maybe Thomas or Ricardo, Radek, if you guys want to talk anything about the fact that in semester 1 you get the basics anyway, right? And then in semester 2 you get a little bit extra. Does anybody want to say anything about that? Yeah, no, that's fine. Okay, Thomas.
I think you presented it perfectly now, Anka. I don't have much to add. No.
Okay, so again, in the semester 1 at Lisbon and at the WPS, you kind of get the basics of cross-cultural psychology, the ABCs of what this is. And then when you move to us in Oslo and Limerick in semester 2, we become a little bit more problem-oriented, right? And Thomas and so Oslo and Limerick have coordinated very closely, because we want to include a much heavier access on social interventions and their applicability to sustainability, SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, the grand challenges of our society. So how can we use psychology to solve big problems? And typically,
Anka, maybe I can add that this is an example for the what you called, I think, co-construction of knowledge and indeed the program, right? Because that is something that we didn't emphasize that strongly when we started all those years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. That was a constant demand from the students we had. They said, we are researchers, we are scientists, but we're also very often interested in activism. And we try to thread like a path there and say, how can we deliver both? Like, how can we deliver knowledge that is theoretically grounded, strong, evidence-based, but also directly applicable? How can we make the knowledge like immediately fertile?
Yeah. Yeah, and this is where Ricardo comes to mind there, because he also works with schools, and this is another example of very practical research that people in our program that work in Global Minds are doing, because when you work with schools, you have a massive capacity and a great audience of trying to see whether how these social interventions work, right? So, whether you bring a different topic in the school, or whether you run a little different activity, does that change kids' mindsets? Does it change the prejudices they might have absorbed from their families or from the media and so on, Ricardo, I don't know, do you want to add?
Yeah, so thanks, Anka. So on that note, I would just add that when you see there this general elective, it might be, or it typically is, either diversity at school that Anka was talking about. So it's, of course, very geared towards intervention. So actually, we ask students to design an evidence-based intervention focused in the school context. And then the other option is diversity at work. So it's basically, I would say, the same idea, but more in a business context. So that course is taken care by Sven Waldzus and Miriam Hause. So, for example, they focus on issues of diversity when it comes to mergers between companies, for example. Yeah.
Exactly. So and I know for a fact that in SWPS also Carolina works very much as a professional at the business interface. So with as she is fluent in Chinese, she also translates between Chinese and Polish businesses, in terms of cultural competencies and everything else that is needed for organizations to work within a context of diversity, right? So the beauty, I suppose, is that you will be exposed to lecturers who really do practice what they preach, right? So because through their research or through their activism, like Thomas said, we are at that interface where here's science, here's theory, here's how to do a master thesis, here's how to publish a scientific article, and here's the real world. And here are the real problems, and here are the real demands of organizations, like whether they are schools or businesses or NGOs, or nowadays in Europe and here in Ireland as well, also the huge demand for the reception, welcoming, and inclusion of Ukrainian refugees. I mean, here in Ireland, the population of 5 million people, we have 60,000 Ukrainian refugees, which is really unprecedented. But look at Poland, who has 1 million Ukrainian kids in schools, right? So yeah, so these are massive societal problems that massively need the kind of skills that we're trying to teach you and work with you to develop in the master's program. So here I have 3 more slides about the paths. Again, as I said, you can have access to the paths, but ultimately it's really about the kind of focus on a topic, but not so much about the difference in the skills you get. So you will get the skills of doing research, the skills of designing and evaluating and doing community interventions in every single path. Yeah, you will get the basics of intercultural, cross-cultural psychology in every single path. And it is actually the summer school that will also, one more final check, teach you about cross-cultural methods. So the research methods in cross-cultural settings, like scale validation, comparing measurements across different cultures and countries and so on, right? So there are some specific topics that are discussed in the different pathways, but the skills are very much similar across the different pathways. Okay, so that's the program. That's what we offer. And now I want to move on to what we ask from you. So what is demanded from the applicants to the program in order to get accepted, right? And basically, as I said before, an undergraduate degree in psychology or a minimum of 100 ECTS modules, which is the equivalent of 55% of your bachelor degree, right? So a little bit more than half should have been done in psychology unless there was a degree in psychology. Okay, and the reason for this, as I said, is because at this master's, we want to not discuss the basics, right? We want you to bring the basics, and we want you to come with us at the higher level, right? Towards a PhD or towards this ability to be very well versed in understanding science, in designing science, in conducting science, right? And you cannot do that unless you already have a basic language, right? It's very hard to learn the language of research and bring it up to a new level if you don't have the disciplinary language in place already. So psychology is absolutely essential. Apart from psychology, we ask you for the typical things so that we verify who you are and whether you really did what you say you did, such as, do you have a diploma? What are your transcripts? What courses did you do? Your passport, which of course is a necessary thing, because especially when you're gonna start moving countries, you will have to find one. You have to have a passport. And also, very importantly, a supporting statement. And Radek, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the supporting statement, but essentially it's written here that it is about suitability. So what makes you already qualified for this program? And what makes this program suit the path in your life, right? So where you want to be, where you've come from and where you're going, and how the program helps in that and fits in that is what we're looking at. Okay, so that's what we mean with suitability. Okay, Then we want a justification for the mobility path. So again, just to give us a sense of whether you have a very strong preference to go to Lisbon first and then come to Limerick, or whether this is just favoring some countries over others, right? So is it an academic preference, or is it a personal preference to go on a certain path? And then we also want you to tell us whether you're applying for the Erasmus Mundus scholarships, right? Did I cover that, Radek? Yeah, we want a lot in this statement, but this is the one contact that we have directly with you before we can decide who gets invited to the interview, right? So the personal statement is a very important piece in your application. And Thomas wants to add something, so go ahead, Thomas.
Yeah, I can just add that when you write this, put yourself in our shoes, in our perspective, right? So like just last week, I spent the whole afternoon evaluating applications. And I can tell you, like, the way I do it, and probably Anka and my colleagues are doing it the same way, like I read the letter first. So that is the first contact, right? I read your statement, and then I have a look at the CV, and then I go back to the letter, and I'm trying to make sense of like what you want, and why you're applying for this, both to figure out, like, are we really what you want? maybe we're wrong, and I can tell you, but also, like, can I see you in the program, right? Like, is that is what you want, does that fit? So like that statement is really important. It should tell a story. It should basically tell the story that is not already clearly visible from the CV. The CV are just the facts, but that statement is your story that we are interested in.
Yeah, and again, like, look here, there's a question in the chat about somebody who did a lot of work with research and like, like you might not have full all the credits in the undergraduate program in psychology, but has a lot of research skills. So again, here we just need that extra bit of information, right? So why would the statistician want to become a humanitarian? Those are things that are not natural necessarily, or they're not natural as in there is a nature to these things, but they don't come easy, right? So if you study to be a mathematician, and then all of a sudden you want to do a master's that works with people, for people, and with very particular vulnerable populations, then you really need a psychological background to be able to make that transfer, right? So it's not to say, oh no, statisticians are not allowed in our program. Yes, they are, but they have to have that larger story. For example, they might have volunteered and worked as a volunteer with humanitarian organizations, or they might really be interested to turn towards psychology or social sciences. And there might be just a need to do something before this master's, right? So that you come at the same level with all the other applicants and the people who will be your peers in the program, right? Radek, sorry, you wanted to add something?
Well, I wanted to say that the background in psychology is very important in this program. And so if you don't have any courses, any credits in psychology, it's going to be very difficult for us to even forward your application to the selection committee. The competition is very serious here, so I would really encourage you to really have a look at your transcript. And if you do not have any courses in psychology, then perhaps it's better to seek maybe a master in psychology, a one-year master in psychology before applying here, or do additional courses in psychology before applying, because we do verify that, and we do look at your transcript, and we do validate, we do check whether you do have the background in psychology. So if you want to come here with no background in psychology, then I'm afraid that you will be considered ineligible for the program.
Yeah. So, and I was just studying there, and here I put it in red on the presentation as well, that we are trying to help you do that. And this is why we added this eligibility form, where you can for yourself and for us make it easier to tell us if you do not have a bachelor degree or a master degree or any other kind of study in psychology, what else do you have? right? So what else do you have, and how could we count what you have studied that is related to psychology and research methods that would actually qualify you to enter, right? But again, especially in that situation where you don't automatically fit the program by just coming from a bachelor or another master's in psychology, that personal statement is even more important, right? So the eligibility form is the one that we must have, because we must be able to count the modules that you did, the amount of credits you earned in them, and so on, for the purposes of doing our homework, right? And then the other part to it is, okay, but you might have this extraordinary motivation and extraordinary work-life experience with working with migration, diversity, and inclusion, that in combination with those, you know, the equivalent of so many credits in psychology, it will still make you an eligible candidate, right? So definitely get in touch with us about these things. So don't hesitate. Radek is answering emails now 24/7. And we have reinforcements on the way. So we are really eager to help you, and also not to waste your time, right? So if you decide on eligibility before you apply, it's much better than to chance it, you know. So you might think, well, you know, I'll just throw it in, see what happens. Yeah, well, better check first. Yeah, there's no point putting the application in when you yourself have doubts about your entry eligibility criteria. Yeah, so if you have any of those doubts, it's better to check with us than to just put in the application anyway. Because yeah, if you cannot meet this eligibility, then we'll just write back and say, well, you cannot apply. Yeah, we are not considered for the program. So before I go here, I want to say one more thing. We receive applications until the 28th of February. And once all the applications are received, and as the applications are being received, 2 members of our consortium from 2 different universities are scoring all the applications. And then we will have a ranking file. And based on that, the score of your application, we will interview the top 50 candidates. Okay, so your applications are scored by 2 different people. You get an average score for that first application phase. And based on this score and on your position in the ranking, you are going to get invited to an interview in March. And by the end of March, we will want to know if you are offered the place, if you're going to accept it or not. Okay, so everything is kind of happening between now and end of March for you and for us. Okay, so we're working really hard to process all your applications, to organize interviews, and after those interviews, we can make those final decisions. And based on the ranking again, is how we're going to decide on scholarship. So now that we are talking about that, I can change slides and I can tell you that that there are 36 places in the program per cohort. So starting with 2023, we're going to be accepting 36 students every year for the next 4 years in this combination, in this configuration. 10 of them will have full scholarship, which means that the tuition fees are covered, so you don't have to pay 9,000 euros or 18,000 euros, depending on your passport. But also, with a full scholarship, you get this amount of money per month, okay, per month of study in the program. And our program is 24 months, okay? So you will get, this is the full scholarship is 1,400 euros multiplied with 24 months. We also have 15 places that are very encouraging for people because they don't have to pay these tuition fees, okay? So when you get a partial scholarship, you still have to pay for yourself. You still have to pay to be alive, to travel, to come places, to live places, and so on. But at least you don't have to pay to the university these participation fees. And this is because the European Union is paying those fees for you, right? So this is why these are scholarships. So basically, the European Union with the Erasmus Mundus programs are paying the consortium, so the 4 universities, to accept 15 students without charging them these fees, okay? So this is a big help, okay? And then the people who do not qualify because they didn't make it at the top of the rank, after the evaluation of the written application and after the interviews, if you didn't make it in this top 25, you will still be offered a place on the program, but these will be self-funded places. And the self-funded places mean that you have to pay this tuition fee. This is, by the way, for both years. So the first year is 4,500, and in the University of Limerick is where you have to pay these fees, and we accept payment by semester. Okay, so this means that you can split this 9,000 euro fee across the 2 years, across 2 semesters every year. So you always have to pay at the beginning of the semester, yeah, either for the semester ahead or for the whole year ahead. Okay, so this is basically what we have on offer, right? This is what we're all trying to make the best, fairest, and most transparent decisions, and this is why we need your applications to decide, okay, how do we go from here, and who ends up coming onto the program. For the last 2 cohorts, in the absence of the scholarships and the funding from Erasmus Mundus, what we did have is we invested a lot in supporting students to still have access to some financial supports, especially because we didn't have any formal Erasmus Mundus scholarships to offer, right? And we have in both of those cohorts 12 students who have managed to enroll in the program, and the first cohort is in year 2 now, and the second cohort is now still in year 1. And these self-funded students can themselves support you if you are becoming a self-funded student in figuring out these supports, right? But our first level of support is we already give you a lot of information on our website about these additional types of grants you can access. So for example, you can just access the normal typical Erasmus mobility grant that any other master, undergraduate, PhD student has access for. So when you move from Lisbon to Limerick, or from Warsaw to Limerick or to Oslo, you can actually get an Erasmus mobility grant to go into that second country. And for your second year, you can also get an internship grant, an Erasmus internship grant. For the people going from Poland to Oslo, there are a special Norwegian program grants, right, Radek?
We cannot guarantee that, so we will be offering an Erasmus scholarship, but we cannot guarantee a special Norwegian grant.
Okay, so there are some programs and some types of scholarships that you might still be eligible for. And don't forget that sometimes your own country might give you some particular types of grants as well to support your education abroad, right? So we try to put a lot of this information on the website of the Global Minds, and we keep on adding that because we are aware that yeah, studying in a master's is not cheap anyway, and then studying in a master's that demands you to travel across at least 2 different countries is definitely challenging, right? So you do need to plan a lot, to calculate a lot, and Didi here is the best one at advising people as well, because she also is a very organized person. So she knows the value of looking at the cost of living, making a budget for yourself, and trying to figure out how are you going to figure this thing out, right? So, and I think Didi has been incredibly helpful before also by putting people in touch also with alumni who studied in that particular path, right? So people who were in Limerick can tell you some things about Limerick that I might forget to tell you right now. And it's always easier to listen to a student, right? So I don't know, Didi, if you want to add anything about this, but this aspect of planning is quite important, is it not? Sorry, you were, yeah, now
Yes.
you're.
So I just want to say that I was actually a self-funded student. So I do understand how complicated it can be to actually come to Europe if you are not European and then trying to survive. So definitely something that needs planning. And if you are a self-funded student, it could cause you lots of stress and problems in the future. So just try to plan ahead and have very clear expectations about what can you get from the master, and also which ones will be your requirements. So that is important. And I also want to mention, now that we are talking a little bit about the alumni, we will have a new webinar on the 10th of February So you already can sign up for that one. And we will have other 3 people also from Global Minds telling about their experience, how was for them their Global Minds experience, their insights, and what are they doing now after completing the master. So also just to keep it in mind if you are interested to get to know more, because I am aware I have received already multiple messages from prospective students interested to making questions, and it could also be overwhelmed from alumni if everybody starts sending like individual questions. So I really hope you can take advantage of this opportunity to like solve all your doubts about how we survive, how much money we spend, what things to expect, because I think also will give you a better overview on your expectations and the things that you will experience during these 2 years in case you are selected, of course. So yeah, anyway, I'm always here to answer questions, and you can always find me in social media if you want some specific insights. But again, I really highlight the webinar on the 10th of February.
Yeah, so on the 10th of February, we'll regroup with quite a few alumni, and hopefully some of the current students might join. I'm not sure yet, but definitely people who have left the program and who can have that distance to reflect on, you know, how hard was it and was it worth it? Because to be honest, at the end of the day, it's always a calculation also about the money and the time and the energy that you are putting into something and what you're getting out of it, right? So of course, anything can be very expensive because you don't think that what you're getting in return is worth that money, right? While and the other way is also, if you can make the best of your opportunities and the best of what we have to offer, then of course that is also priceless, right? So you cannot really put a price on that. It's very hard to actually put a price on what it costs to 4 universities, 4 different departments, and a lot of people to engage in this program. You know, it's very rare, it's very pioneering. These joint programs are still quite unique in the world. The European Union wants to make more of these, but these are challenging. And out of those challenges, you get sometimes the best knowledge, you know, because, you know, like the diamonds are just a bit of coal that has survived huge intense pressure. And this is sometimes how we feel. We feel like we are becoming shinier and shinier as we go through the years, because since 2017, our consortium and our program team have really tried to figure things out under all the pressures, right? So the financial pressure is only one, the academic pressure is another, migrating and changing countries is another kind of pressure, but also learning as you go, learning as you go through the program, applying what you learn and so on. These are a lot of pressures that we offer, and we offer them with a view of educating the best psychology graduates that we can offer, right? Better than if you just studied in Limerick or in Oslo or in Warsaw or in Lisbon, right? So these are the benefits as well. So I suppose in the meeting with the alumni, you can also find out how these supports have worked for them, what other supports might be needed. We are in constant negotiation as well, but also conversation with our students about how to best make the best of each other and of the program and of your experience. Okay, so I suppose I leave it on this slide because these are the places where you can just, if you browse even like through LinkedIn or Instagram, you will learn more about us. And that, again, it's important before you apply. Do you really want to be part of this tribe? Because we are a tribe, you know, we are a bunch of people who believe in certain things, who do things in certain ways, and who really are looking for others like us, or people who want to share in that dream. And I remind you that the dream is to have graduates with high standard research skills that are able to read but also do research in migration, diversity, and inclusion, but that also have the evidence-based knowledge to design, judge, evaluate social interventions. And these are very practical skills. Both the research and the social intervention skills are very practical skills that we want to equip you with, okay? I'm not sure if I'm missing anything else. Is there anything else to add? about what we do and why we are a great bunch of people and a super duper program? No, I said it all.
I give you 20 points, Anka.
20 points, Ireland. But is it for Romania, Ireland, or what? I don't know.
Both.
Split. Okay, that's great. Yeah, look, I saw that there was a huge amount of activity in the chat there. So I wonder if there are some unanswered questions, if we want to reiterate some of those questions here. I just on the corner of my eye noticed at some point a question about references. And again, with the references, like with the personal statement, I think what is really important is that you ask those references from people who know you. Yeah, because it's another way for us to know you. Yeah, through the eyes, through the perspective of somebody that you either studied with or you worked with, right? Because being in this master's requires many things. Academic ability is only one of them. Yeah, so your history, your demonstrated history, that you studied psychology, that you finished a course, that you're able to study, this is just the beginning. Yeah. You also need to have this kind of match with the program, yeah, this kind of willingness to work with migration, inclusion, diversity, or past experience or career goals, yeah, and those are things that a referee can speak about. You know, if you worked with somebody in whatever capacity, they can speak about your passion or your ability to work with people, to have intercultural competence skills, and so on, yeah. So those references do matter as well, but they don't necessarily have to be from a teacher who doesn't know you, right? So a reference that is written by some lecturer just because he was a lecturer, but who actually doesn't really know you, is probably as useless as no reference at all, right? Because it's like, yeah, it doesn't tell us much about you. Okay. Are there any other questions and answers, so what shall I say, from the Q&A that we should speak out in the recording? Radek can't keep up with typing, I think, so he's already trying to answer everything. I suppose what we will do, Didi and Letitia, is we can download the chat history. And once we have the chat history, we can make sure that we add some of these answers to some of the questions in the Q&A. Or in the next social media campaign, where all we want is to answer these questions, right? Yes, we will put the recording on the website. Yes.
If your questions weren't answered in this session, you're more than welcome to email me. My email is on the website, globalminds.eu. In the part named contact. So if you need any information after this webinar, I will be very happy to help you via email.